Hello everyone, Counterspell Hater here, back with another EDH guide. Today we are looking at yet another new card from Streets of New Capena. It is Ziatora, the Incinerator. Jund Sacrifice, sort of fling type of deck is what we're looking at here today. So this, and also maybe some treasure synergies, but mostly graveyard stuff. So that's what we'll be looking at. Before we get into the video, please like and subscribe. We're currently stuck at 24. I'd like to move on, if that would be fine, upward to 25 or above, please. That'd be great. And as you're commenting, if you're first one to comment, you can be the one to decide a future episode, like what it covers or who it covers, I should say, by just typing in the name of commander you want to see that has not already been featured on this channel, or a unique style deck commander, like how you want me to build it. Either way, I will oblige and dedicate a future episode to said commander. Anyways, let's get into it. Goldspan Dragon is in here to double up the amount of mana produced by our treasures. That way we can play bigger, scarier creatures thanks to our treasures produced by Ziatora. Ebondeth Dracolith, just as like a card we can sacrifice for most turns. If there's something else better to sacrifice on board, we can just play him from a graveyard and then sacrifice him at the beginning and the end step. Jury Master of the Review. Since we're sacrificing permanents, he will get larger and larger, and when he dies, he can also deal a lot of damage. And combined with Ziatora, it can end up killing someone. And since treasures, in order to produce their mana, you have to sat there and sacrifice them. Jury here is gonna get really big, really fast. Death's Presence, since we have many amount of creatures dying, and they'll probably be big. Pathbreaker Ibex, so we can allows us to attack, but the buff lasts until the end of the turn, and this still counts as a trigger for when it wears off, kind of. So we can put that in order with like Ziatora's trigger at the end step, and Pathbreaker Ibex's trigger at the end step. So we could sacrifice something first while it's still buffed by Pathbreaker Ibex, and then we could let the Pathbreaker Ibex buff wear off from all of our creatures afterwards. Get what I'm saying? Ochre Jelly is a great one. This is a creature that can die and then be sort of reanimated. It'll die and then it'll get like half its power and toughness. Either way, this can kind of last us a while. And it's great. It's just great fodder for Ziatora. Be a stable amount of treasures produced for us. Second Harvest to double up on our treasures. Hooded Hydra, great card. This could be something we could use to come out of nowhere at our opponents where they're least expecting, or as an X spell to use all of our treasures. Excuse me. So that way we can get a nice big creature to fling at someone's face, and an army for when we do fling it. Vastwood Hydra, great card, because when it dies, we'll be able to distribute probably a lot plus counters among creatures any number of creatures we control, so that can buff up creatures and prepare them for when we are to fling them at our opponents as well. Lifeblood Hydra, put us back in the game. thanks to its death trigger, and draws a whole bunch of cards if need be. Hydra Broodmaster. It's in here for its monstrosity ability. Because monstrosity will buff this up by a whole bunch and can create a large amount of rather big tokens. So in other words, this just produces fodder that is very valuable for us when it comes time to fling something at our opponent's face at the beginning of our end, instead with Ziatora. Hero's Bane. Again, use up all that mana that we have laying around with our treasures and all that. If we have nothing else better to do, we can just use it to buff up Hero's Bane here. Genesis Hydra can get us another scary creature or permanent, and a big creature out of Genesis Hydra itself. So win-win. Apex Devastator. This alone 10/10. But on top of that, you can get 4 things that have a CMC of 9 mana or less, which is terrifying. That's 5 things that you could end up flinging at your opponent's face. Now, keep in mind that most of the stuff in here is like expels, so maybe that wasn't a good idea. Now that I think about it. Oh well. Very, you can make it work. You don't have to follow this deck's rules. You could probably replace that with like Verdant Sun's Avatar, to make use of when your creatures are like just come into the battlefield. Literally, Voracious Hydra, another big creature, can kill something we don't like, or just be another big creature. Pelucranos, the Unchained. Pelucranos Unchained. Amazing creature for this deck because of escape. Not to mention when it escapes, it gets 12 ++ counters as opposed to its regular 6. And alone, we're casting this for 4 mana with its regular cost, and we're getting a 6/6 that can also fight creatures and prevents damage that is dealt to it by removing ++ counters. And I mean, since we're going to have so much stuff dying, this will be very useful for us. Essentially repeated like 12 damage if you think about it. Savage-born Hydra, amazing creature. This can buff itself up to prepare for when it is eventually flung. If we ever do want to fling it, I mean, double striking, God knows how big Hydra that can pump itself up. Who wouldn't want to keep this thing? Unless there's a board white coming at you. Man, it doesn't matter. Kalani Hydra. This is an amazing creature since we're playing mostly green. And for rather cheap, we can get a trampling 8/8. Nice. Mana Gorger Hydra. Since there can be some like players that can be comboing off casting a lot of spells. If it doesn't immediately kill us, then at end step we can fling Mana Gorger Hydra at them and just most likely not kill them, or maybe even kill them. I don't know, depending on what their infinite combo is. Most likely it's gonna kill you before you can do anything. Gyre Sage, since because most creatures in this deck are gonna be entering in with a lot more base power and toughness than this creature, I think. We'll be able to make use of it with Evolve. Forgotten Ancient, once again, it's like Mana Gorger Hydra, but better. It can buff up other creatures by moving the ++ counters it's put onto itself onto other creatures. So we can end up getting like a 15/15 easy 15 damage out of this, and Apex Devastator, or you can keep the counters on it, and this can be onto other creatures, so it doesn't have to be just one creature. Nesting Wilds Ravager. So, well, there are why. So two things can end up happening with this. Either your opponent loses a creature that has 6 toughness or less, or they take 12 if they pay tribute. Or they can guarantee that they don't lose anything by paying tribute. Which is great because you can like control people with that sort of threat. Mistcutter Hydra, amazing. We like to see this since we hate counterspells. I mean, counterspells, they ruin everyone's plans and all their fun. It's just like, I'm a gentleman. I like to see everyone go off, even though sometimes when I'm playing with my dad, it's not that enjoyable. But I mean, haste protection from blue can't be countered. What are you gonna do about it? Blue, cry. Mistcutter Hydra also enters battle with plus counters. Anyways, Rampant Rejuvenator. Recently found this, didn't know this thing existed until today. Pretty good card. Even though it only enters in with 2 plus counters, this can get buffed up easily. I mean, we're playing green. I was in a bit of a rush to create this, so don't mind me. Bloodsport Thrynax. This is amazing. Kind of goes to the theme of the deck of sacrifice. So if we like have a bunch of stuff that we want to sacrifice, but not or like make use of, but not via Ziatora, we can make use of them by sacrificing them to Bloodsport Thrynax, like tokens and stuff. That's what I'm talking about. Creature tokens. So that way, we can make our creatures even bigger as they enter in the battlefield, thanks to Devour One. Whip-Tongue Hydra to deal with a whole bunch of those annoying flyers, blue-white players mostly. Doubling season. This point, I mean, 6 treasures a turn and a whole bunch more plus counters. I mean, come on. The Ozolith, it's game over for your opponents if you get, I mean, turn 1. Like if you're able to keep this, it's game over because of how many plus counters you're going to be able to put onto a singular creature, and eventually you're just going to end up flinging like a 128 base power and toughness creature at someone's face. Wait, you can check something. Oh yeah, it's to any target, so guess your opponents just die. Anyways, Elementalist Palette. This is amazing because since we're casting like so many X, we have like decent amount of X spells. This will be able to produce just a good amount of mana. Probably would have put Unbound Flourishing in here due to all the hydras we see. Maybe if you want to replace like, probably if anything, Trollbred Guardian in here. Definitely not Froghemoth here. This is amazing because this can get rid of like some scary targets for reanimators, like Fulcral Primordial, Obnixilis, like any of the Obnixili that I can think of. Other big scary creatures that we don't want to see on our opponent's board, Rexial, other scary creatures, or just other scary cards in general. Like this can get rid of just about anything, and this is buffing itself up as it's doing so. So great creature for like multiple, for covering up like multiple areas. Not to mention Trample and Haste. You combine that, and only for 5 mana. This is an amazing deal. Definitely would recommend that in green decks when going against like, since most people these days, like you'll see like some form of mill. Trollbred Guardian, not the best. Why I said I would replace this with Unbound Flourishing, but you can do what you want. Each creature you control plus counter has trample. I mean, most of our creatures in here have trample on their own, so this is actually a better choice. But like I said, depending on how you build this, could be a good choice. Rise of the Dark Realm. Speaking of which, since some of our stuff is gonna be dying, say we just need a board instantaneously. Well, as the Dark Realms is here to provide Lord of the Void to give us some more options for sacrifice. Those options being creatures our opponents used to own. Well, until we exile them with Lord of the Void. Demon of Death's Gate, easy 9/9 flying trample. I mean, sacrifice 3 black creatures and pay 6 life. It's easy. It's mythic for a reason, though. Omnixil's Unshackled, since creatures are going to be dying, and to really punish our opponents for searching their libraries, like landfall decks, they're going to get hurt real bad. I mean, 10 life and a creature. Not worth it for that 2 lands, I don't think. Omnixilus, unless you're playing HI, in which case. Omnixilus the Fallen to take advantage of land drops. Drain our opponent and make him bigger. Grave Betrayal for when our opponent's creatures die. Just reanimate them. And they'll be under our control and even bigger and stronger. Great card for this deck. Gisa, Glorious Resurrector. She's another great card. Like Frog King, she can make sure that when your opponent's creatures die, they can't be immediately reanimated, at least under your opponent's control. But under yours, they're coming home. And they also gain Decayed, so your opponents can't really make use of them much. Gerard, Golgari Lichlord, since we're gonna have so many creature cards in our graveyard, and this can speed along the process at which we kill our opponents by sacrificing creatures to him rather than to our commander. Zorals to kind of go along with it, the Scar Strike, because of Scavenge, since, I mean, if you don't want to really make use of your graveyard, which you kind of do, I mean, make use of everything. Black is all about its resources, as we all are probably well aware. But if you aren't really able to make use of your resources by like buffing up your creatures with like stuff that says, oh, do this because of your graveyard, or buff up your creature equal to how many creature cards in your graveyard, or like Rise of the Dark Realms, then we can make use of creature cards in our graveyard thanks to Varla's Scar Striped. So this is just another option for what I'm trying to say. Savra, Queen of the Golgari. Since we're sacrificing creatures, we'll get payouts and making other players sacrifice a creature and gaining life. Zoni, Thousand-Eyed, since once again lots of creatures dying, and help us gain life and draw cards. Mazarek, Crawl Death Priest, big creature in this deck. I mean, like, why is it not a mythic? It was a mythic back when it wasn't reprinted into Double Masters. Wizards, what are you doing? I'm not complaining, but you realize how powerful this is. I mean, seriously, buff up your entire board whenever anyone sacrifices anything at any moment. And this deck is all about sacrifice. This is an amazing card. Like, I would definitely recommend this in most black-green decks, or decks that include black and green, especially this one. This is preparing our creatures for when they eventually get flung by buffing them up whenever a creature that isn't that creature gets flung. You know what I'm saying? Since we're sacrificing creatures. Bloodbriar, since we're sacrificing creatures, just to do it's Mazarek, but yeah. Probably would replace this with something like, oh god, Rishkar, Pima Renegade, just to get some more mana of creatures with plus counters, or maybe like a proliferate effect, like Contagion Engine. Rock, Rakshasa Debaser. Just more options from our opponent's graveyards. And because of Encore, if we're in a situation where we find ourselves with like an four-way, then this can be really useful because we can end up sacrificing one of those tokens for 6 damage. So we can sacrifice this, encore it, and then sacrifice some other sacrifice the one of the tokens again. So that could be 12 damage over the course of 12 or more damage over the course of 2 turns. Ravenous Squirrel probably would replace this, maybe. It does get bigger as we sacrifice stuff, and we can sacrifice stuff to it to gain life and draw cards, which is kind of nice. Fiend Artisan, another big creature in this deck, because we can get bigger and scarier creatures than what we already have. And as we fill our graveyard, this gets even bigger. But I mean, Fiend Artisan, you pump a good amount to X, you could get something like Demon of Death's Gate out of one of Izoni's 1/1s. I don't think I need to explain much more. Like, you've seen this on MTG Arena on my in my videos, but if you haven't, go check those out. Those are awesome. I've made the game crash. I think it counted as crash. Go check those out. And while you're at it, please like and subscribe. Anyways, moving on with Vigor. Great way to protect our creatures and make sure they make it to the end step. That way we can sacrifice them for maximum effect and also have attacked with them in the same turn. This really is amazing because this also prevents things like Death Touch and Lifelink and Double Strike from being a problem for us by preventing that damage. So the only way our opponents are really able to deal with our creatures effectively is like with destroy target creature effects like murders and all that. Mycolith. This is a great creature that allows us to have a board state instantaneously, and combined with Mazarek, this can make for a deadly combination of having a big army and sacrificing little creatures to buff up everyone else. Not to mention, if we're sacrificing, we have Mazarek out, this is getting buffed, thereby creating us more creatures. Being another deal. Spine Rock Null, since we're going to be dealing a lot of damage, like way more than 7 most likely. Isolated Watchtower, help with lands. I mean, we're green still. Gaia's Cradle, since we'll have probably a good amount of creatures, maybe, if we can produce enough. Mosswort Bridge, since we're definitely going to have since the creatures are definitely going to have a total combined power of more than 10. Myriad Landscape for lands, and then mountains, forests, and swamps. 15 of them in this case. And that is it. That is the Commander Guide starring Ziatora, the Incinerator. Very fun Jund Commander. I hope you liked this video. If you did, please like and subscribe. I'd like to get to 25 and keep going upward. Anyways. Oh, don't forget, as you're commenting, and please comment anyways, but as you're commenting, if the first one to comment, suggest a commander for me, and I will dedicate a future episode to said commander. I promise. Oh, and don't forget to hit the notification bell. That way you don't miss any of this content. New content for my channel, I should say. And share this video along with other videos found on my channel with other people, and also watch them. And that'll be it. Bye-bye.